Good evening, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. So, Jurassic Ark will be with us soon. So it's just me for the first bit. Yeah, if you can hear me, just let me know down in the chat. But who we got so far? Hey, Craig. Hey, Greg. Hey, Jackie. Hey, Steve. Hey, Matt. Hey, Mark and Victoria. Hey, Tom. Hey, Russell. I don't think that's everyone so far from, but hey, everyone. Yeah, we'll be joined by Jurassic Ark Encounters. Who's based in Northern Ireland, so should be with us hopefully from about past. Hopefully, so had to do some stuff quickly beforehand. And so, basically, he keeps some pretty big reptiles. Although we've got some inverts as well, I think, and sort of a few other things. Adron's John's been a member for 6 months. That's amazing. It's been that long already. Damn. Didn't realise they've been monetised that long. That is something. So yeah, you're gonna be going on, and yeah, hopefully we'll see. Well, potentially see some stuff. He sent me some photos over, which I'll be popping up on screen every now and then of some of his animals, just because they can't really sort of move around sort of too much one time with them. It does indeed, Jackie. It does go quick. Aaron, so it goes very quick. Like, doesn't feel like that'll be monetized that long at all. So it's quite something. I'm just gonna. I think so, Mark. Just about. So, I think I've pretty much caught up on most of my sleep now. I had a bit of a lane yesterday morning. I've had a lane this morning as well. So, yeah, I've got some noisy crickets back in the game, and so they've been singing a lot. Absolutely was. Matt's also been Jurassic Ark. He's been a member for 6 months as well, and it was absolutely fantastic hanging out on Sunday. There's going to be a couple of videos coming out from our trip Sunday. I think. Well, Wednesday will be kind of just general looking around, kind of where we're not really focusing too heavily on Bug Hut or Reptile Hut, because I'm going to do at least one separate video for them, maybe even two, maybe. So, but the first one's going like kind of vloggy style type thing, going to be. So yeah, you got all a few different things, some random bits and stuff in there. So, Russell, it was Lord of the Lost. That was the support. So, which one is second time supporting them? I think the vocalist Chris Arm say. No, they apparently they supported Maiden on their last tours off, and or fielded was on, and got invited back by Maiden to be to support again. So they clearly get on well, which is nice. Steve. Oh, down there. Okay. There's a roundabout video. There is basically everything I took. yep, you obviously feature in the video. Jeremy features in it. Matt features in it, of course. We've also got Jeremy peering through his door at us. So hopefully people will enjoy it, because it's a bit of a different style sort of video to what I normally do and stuff. Hey, Leah. So yeah, no. Hopefully people, hopefully people will enjoy that video, which will be out on Wednesday. So, and then, like I said, then next Wednesday will be, it'll either be conjoined Bug Hut and Reptile Hut video, or just one of them, like virtual tour, just one, and then depending on how long all the footage is really of everything. So I don't want to make videos too long. But let's say both. I think both are certainly deserving of individual videos. I think they're both fantastic places. Definitely recommend people going. And there's a really good sweet shop there as well. So it was a good, really good day out. So as should have Jurassic Ark on hopefully roughly about past, said. Just had to make some last minute sort of things pop up. So all being well, he'll be with us then. Okay, it is Matt's second name, but I can totally see why. And I think if I lived nearby, I would be there quite often as well. So, I suppose, yeah, I suppose it was there. You know, you'd certainly wouldn't necessarily always spend and stuff, but yeah, I think I'd come home with quite a bit every now and then. So, and from either shop, is glad they left his credit card at home. Could have come with so many animals and diabetes. I mean, that is true. So, yeah, I've been I haven't finished off also, but I've been having the odd bit of fudge here and there from what we all picked up. yeah, well, I think I mean, was it for me? What, hour and a half or so to get there if I went direct, and so it's not too bad. It was not too bad. Um, so it took a bit long because obviously Steve came picked me up, and then we went down to pick up Jeremy, and then went across. But still, actually didn't take all that long, and certainly much more fun with with the others, with Steve and Jeremy, of course. I was up when I mean up with Matt there. So when we literally spent like the entire day, most of the day, in both Bug Hut and Reptile Hut. I came away with stuff. Jeremy came away with stuff. Most of us got sweets as well. Stuff from the sweet shop. We always got slushies. I got an ice cream. I was very, very happy with my slushie and ice cream. That's what I'm doing wrong. Cheers. Yeah. Also, if you hear random noises coming from outside, but there are like cadets and stuff going around the zoo at the moment. So often I keep seeing people walk outside my window. I'm like, what are people doing here? But they are meant to be here. Oh, 3 hours each way for Steve. I didn't feel like it. Damn. He actually need to let me know. I don't know if you let Driven know, but need to let me know how much owe you for some fuel. So do do let me know how much I owe you, man. If you would. But yeah, no, I'll definitely go back to the place, definitely. And certainly recommend anyone else if you're ever in the area, in that area, the sort of Chelmsford area, to pop by as well. Definitely worth it. Hey, Shady. Has got a list of animals he wants to get from the place. No, right, Steve. Talent has okay. See, the dune geckos were cool. They were cool. They were absolutely cool. And stuff like, I mean, kind of one like, yeah, if I was, I say, if there's something like, yeah, if I was to ever move out here, kind of thing, had somewhere, moved in somewhere I could keep reptiles, there'd perhaps be stuff, and I would look at because yeah, don't get big, um, like at all. Really cool looking. Keep them in little colonies, like fantastic. But how's everyone been this weekend? You all had a good weekend? Hey, Philip. Nice try, Steve. Nice try. But yeah, price of place weren't really reasonable prices in both shops. So yeah, wouldn't grumble at the prices they were charging for stuff. So, which is nice, and just really nice people as well, which is always good. Mark's dropped Nate back to Winchester. Goes first in criminology. Well done. Very nice. Very nice. Very nice. Yeah, so very, very reasonably priced. Yeah, Bugger was definitely reasonably priced. So we can go hard and allow visiting. Wow. Good. Hey, Charlotte. So, Leah, we all know that Matt has a certain thing for tights. Let's just say he likes a bit of Rocky Horror. Sometimes it's more fun than rice. I mean, yeah, it could be true. Could be true. So, one thing I did get from, well, actually, no, from the Reptile Hut. Someone may have seen last night on March channel. I did pick up this awesome skull. Still haven't figured out where I'm actually going to stick it yet. Whether it's going to go in an enclosure or whether it's just going to sit on a well, I say a shelf. There's not really any shelves, but it's going to go somewhere. But I just had to have it. So need to figure out what I'm going to do with that. So now I did pick up some bits of cork and stuff as well, but I did get a couple of new additions, which will come out in not Wednesday's video, but in a future video. It is, Matt. Yeah, you just knew as soon as I saw it, I had to have it, didn't I? It was like, yeah, I'm having this. Hey, Mark. What are you blaming me for? What have we done this time? So, hey Nat, how you doing? Cool. Right. Okay. Right. Well, any further ado, let me introduce you all to Jurassic Ark.
How you doing?
How you doing?
Not too bad. Keeping well.
Good. Same here. Good. Well, firstly, thanks for agreeing to come on to my little stream.
You're very welcome.
So, I'm going to start off with everyone in I've currently got what 22 people watching currently. Everyone who perhaps hasn't heard of you, doesn't know who you are, do you want to give yourself a quick introduction into who you are and what Jurassic Ark is?
Yeah. So most people will probably commonly see me on Facebook as Dougie Smith. I run and operate Jurassic Ark Encounters, which is an educational animal encounters company over in Northern Ireland here. So predominantly, it's focused on education as opposed to let's just have fun with animals, where education is at the foremost of it. And it's basically about trying to break down the stigma and the myths that are associated all too often with reptiles. Obviously, snakes, one of the biggest phobias in the world. We try to obviously help the public understand these amazing creatures, help them explore the natural world of reptiles, the anatomy of them. And when it comes to snakes, lizards, tortoises, turtles, crocodilians as well. And it's basically about showcasing them in a positive light, how amazing these animals can be, some of their intricate lifestyles that they have obviously out in the wild, some of the abilities that they have that help them function, adapt to their climate where they live, how they catch their food, how they also defend themselves from predatory animals as well, and how that these animals, when you show them respect and you understand them and appreciate them for what they are, that they can be quite tolerable, that you can interact with them in a safe manner, and that you can enjoy them and develop a love and a passion for them, which I have over quite a long number of years.
That's fantastic. I mean, but just just in case anyone's wondering, obviously, what's behind you looks like obviously just an amazing backdrop, but that's not just a backdrop, is it?
No, this is what I would call my big snake house. So this is my largest reticulated pythons that are in here. So when you see me looking around continually over the course of the video, it's because there currently is live reticulated pythons in with me. We have Pandora, who's an 18.5 foot wild type. We have Daisy, who's 21.5 feet. She's a white-faced albino. And then we have Summer as well, who's just over 20 feet, and she's a lavender tiger. So we have several big reticulated pythons in the enclosure here. They are aware that I'm here. So again, me just constantly checking over my shoulders just to make sure that we don't have any of them coming up behind. And maybe during the video here, we'll be able to see maybe one or two of them as well in their glory.
Yeah, that'd be good. So, I mean, when I first saw, don't know, well, must have been a fair few years ago now, actually. You came over and done a talk at the West Midlands Zoological Society.
That's right, yeah.
So, and obviously, since then, sort of your reptiles have sort of grown in number, and only, from what I can see, you seem to go for some of the largest ones that you can get, kind of thing in the hobby. So, I mean, with regards to reticulated pythons, how many reticulated pythons do you currently keep?
I currently have around 25.
Oh wow!
And they range obviously in a different amount of sizes. So we have right down at the minute to my very smallest, which would be my young baby Bally yellow-headed reticulated python pair, that I've only just acquired recently. So they are probably just somewhere between 2 and 3 months old. So they'll be my smallest. And then we have right up to Daisy, who will be over here in the back in the pond. And Daisy's my largest then. She is about 21.5 feet long. And we have obviously quite a variance in sizes then between little and large, as you could say.
Yeah. So, I mean, I imagine, well, with 25 ridiculous, that's got to take up quite a lot of space, keeping all that. Even like the smaller ones, eventually they're going to get quite big.
Yeah. No, well, that's it. I mean, some of the ones that I have are different locales. Some of the ones obviously with their genetics as well, and will probably stay on the smaller side too. So I mean, one of the things with reticulated pythons is not every reticulated python will get to be uh, up into the realms of what I call a true giant, which for me would be when you start to get over 18 feet long and you head up sort of 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 feet long. They're to me what I consider the true giants. When you start to have animals below that, you're down into large snakes, and albeit for most people who maybe don't keep them, they see those animals as giant, but anything sort of below 18, 17 feet is a very large snake. Yeah, but for me, it's not, a true giant at that point.
Yeah, no, I'm sort of see that. So, hi Thomas. So, I think some people have kind of been blown away by just
I can see some of the comments.
like, you don't expect to hear that, like when people say got retics. Sometimes you expect 1, 2, maybe 3, or especially to size someone with it, and then like suddenly you go, "Oh, I've got 25." It's like what?
Yeah, and I mean, it's a big shocker. It is. It's a way of life, and it's a big love for the species that have developed. I mean, you're not going to keep, especially with some of the sizes of them as well. You're not going to keep animals like that if you genuinely don't love them and you love the species. Some of them I've bought. Some of them have came to me as rehomes when owners feel they can no longer provide or give them what they feel they deserve anymore. That sort of way. So as I say, it's nice to be able to provide a home for some of them as well. I've currently got another couple of projects ongoing at the minute where over the course of the next couple of months, there is several new sheds that are being developed with, larger areas for some of the smaller animals as well, obviously, to go into. So it'll be nice to obviously keep people updated with that and be able to, show them that as it develops and then the animals in the enclosures as well.
Absolutely. So, I mean, when it comes to building an enclosure like the one you're in now, I mean, how big is that enclosure roughly?
It's probably hard to see, but this is only a section of it that you're seeing because, quite frankly, you can't get it all in, even in a horizontal landscape here. But the enclosure that I'm currently in at the minute is 14 foot by 12 foot, and it is, you can see my hands are way up out of the air there at present. But you're looking at quite a distance. You're looking at probably nearly 8.5 feet tall, towards 9 feet tall, in height there as well. And then obviously we've got a huge big pond area over in the back there, where they can soak, they can swim, they can fully submerge as well. Lots of different branches, all different heights. Not every branch is totally fixed, really secure, because obviously in the wild, in nature, where these animals come from in South and Southeast Asia, not every branch is that perfect horizontal branch that's going to be total stable. So we do have shake. We do have the shakeability in branches to obviously help them tone up, help them work those muscles, help them keep the flexion muscles in place, and stability core as well. They're obviously to burn off fat and try and keep the sort of leaner adult reticulated pythons, unlike unfortunately most of the obese ones that we so often see due to captivity and due to the inaction of the animals.
So you just put that enclosure is bigger than his whole reptile room. Speaking on a lot of people's reptile room, I think that's.
I hope I don't look too bad. I mean, in here at the minute, I'm probably going to look like I'm starting to sweat right across my head. But I mean, the air temperature at the minute in here, just at this height where my hand is 32.5 degrees. So it is, and the humidity there is sitting at the minute at about 49-50% in that height there currently. So if I start to look really, really moist across my head, that's why it's warm in here.
It's a bit like my tropical house at work kind of thing. One of the sort of here actually, Angela Pettis and Leah, her husband Terry, they both they've got retics themselves and stuff. He's asked me that, how do you go about doing like your heating and lighting and stuff for your retics?
Yeah, I mean, so basically, it's probably hard to see with the camera, but over that direction there, I'll maybe stand out. But where my hook is pointing, over in that far corner, there is a 2,000 watt heater that is connected to. It's hard to see, but underneath that branch on the far wall, there's a thermostat on the wall. So that thermostat works that heater individually. Over then this way, in that opposite corner, there's another 2,000 watt heater. And that is connected to a wall thermostat that's in front of me here near the door. And that works that side of the room. So it means that you get a range then between the two heaters across the enclosure. That creates what I call the ambient heat. Now, they heat from the floor up. So you get temperatures down and around the floor here of maybe 27, 28 degrees in different parts of the floor. And then as you start to work your way up through the branches here, the temperature starts to increase. So, I mean, if we take up at the very top branch there, up in that top corner, you'll be looking at a temperature up there of somewhere in around 33, 33 and a half degrees. There is one light there that provides a basking area on a shelf above where the pond is. It's not really needed, to be honest. I have it there just as an optional extra, but the great thing about heating enclosures as a whole means that, similar to the wild, you can actually allow the air temperature in different parts to replicate, different natural temperature variances, and the animals can choose themselves, where they want to where they want to go. So they can. I'll maybe just knock one of the heaters off here because it's maybe going to disturb you in the background.
Okay. And what about do you provide them with UV lighting at all, or is it just ambient lighting?
Yeah, I mean, I have done in the past. In this enclosure here, it's not just as simple to get obviously UV. I am looking at a number of different options at the minute for more sort of the bigger zoo UV units that will sit and maybe replace the likes of these lights currently just see at present. The lights that are above me here at the minute are just LED lights. They are about 5 or 6 watts. They provide ambient enough light in the enclosure, and then they can go off at night then to put the closure in total darkness. But down the line, if I can get a strong enough UV unit like some of the zoos, the plan will be to replace them with the UV units then. And obviously that provides UV as well. But at the minute, in relation to the animals that I have, it doesn't affect them any. Obviously it would benefit them. So it's not one of those things that I'm going to be against. I'm all for it. But I just need to make sure with enclosures these sizes that I get the right unit and be able to deliver the right percentage of UV then for the animals' interests.
Yeah, and also, I mean, with animals that sort of size and the strength that they possess to be able to secure it effectively, where they're not going to just rip it down, kind of thing and stuff.
Yeah, no, well, that's it exactly. Yeah, that's very much it. You've hit the nail on the head there. So, and they do like to explore. And I mean, at some point here, I'll probably pull one of them up. I'd let you see them as well, and then send them up into the branches. So you will see them obviously negate branches and be able to move around. The enclosure is not just for show; it is very much a fully functional enclosure that meets the needs, similar environmental factors, for these animals as they would in the wild.
That's it. And then, I mean, I can see you obviously got plants in there, but I'm going to take a guess that they're all probably fake plants. I'm guessing, not real.
Yeah,
not with large snakes like that.
Yeah, I did, and I mean, there is plenty of pictures on my Facebook there that you'll see with live plants in these areas. And I have done the live plant thing. And I was successful enough with live plants where I positioned them in various areas around the enclosure that even with the biggest, heaviest one, I mean, my heaviest reticulated python in here at the minute is 13 stone. So it is. So even with the weights of some of those animals, I was able to keep plants where they weren't, killed or they weren't crushed. I positioned them in such a way around the branches that the snakes were able to use the branches to negate around them or through them without, actually crushing them. But the problem lies is that there's obviously severe heat in here and to keep the snakes healthy. So there is a lot of water in off them. I have a big collection, as some of you might know, and yourself. So, what maybe is a short task for somebody of coming up at night and watering maybe 6, 7, or 8 live plants in here that are quite big. When you're doing that throughout multiple enclosures, it does eat away into maybe an hour and a half. And again, time is valuable and is of the essence. So, doing things with fake plants now, it makes it look aesthetically good, but it just gives me that a bit more time that I can provide to genuine care for the animals as opposed to sort of wasting it on water and live plants, that sort of way. So that's why I've made the change.
Yeah, no, don't, and I mean, sometimes you get people that are very anti-fake plants and stuff, but fake plants have their place and utilised properly, they can look good.
Yeah.
Ultimately, does the snake really care whether it's a live plant or a fake plant? Probably not.
Yeah.
And it's normally done for our aesthetics as much
Yeah.
as anything.
Yeah.
So, I work at a zoo. Some of our snake, we only have one snake, it's a carpet python. We did have a live plant in there. He pretty much destroyed it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it's now got a fake one in.
Yeah.
But you try these things and go, okay, yeah, it didn't work or whatever.
Well, that's it. It all boils down to trial and error. And for me, it did work, and the snakes didn't wreck them. But the other side to that was it took up a lot of my time. With different walking enclosures. If I was doing that throughout them all, took up a lot of my time then, watering plants and trying to pursue that and do that every night. And it just for me, the benefit of having them, meant a little bit less time for me to obviously focus on animals as opposed to watering plants. With the fake ones, I mean, when they're sprayed, I come in here and spray the whole enclosure, and when it is sprayed, it's they hold the water similar to a live plant. The water will trickle down the leaves, so they do serve their function, as best they can.
Yeah, that's great. And I know, yes, but in terms of like the background, I can see it's not just a plain wall. You've clearly got some bark on there.
Yeah.
So how do you do sort of the background to that?
So a lot of my big walk-in enclosures, again, for me, it's about making everything look aesthetically nice and appeasing to the eye. But I mean, the bark as well does serve another purpose. It also adds as a rough surface area for the snakes, because some of these animals will climb vertically up the wall. So it gives an area for traction and friction for the scales to be able to grip onto. It also means as well, when the animal's shedding, they can actually rub themselves off a rough surface that's similar to a tree in the wild to help obviously get the shed skin off. The bark as well will also take a degree of humidity because the water will sit in certain crevices of it and trickle down throughout the day. But basically, what all my sheds or walk-in enclosures consist of is behind that bark, there's plywood. Behind that plywood, there is 50 to 60 millimeters of insulation, and that come in silver-lined insulation boards. On the other side of that, then, is the exterior wall, 19 millimeter tongue and groove wood. So it means as well the shed retains a lot of heat, and then you've got the cladding of the plywood over the top as another layer, and then over the top of that again, you've got all of this nice bark, which again provides those different aspects as I explained, and again adds that other extra level of keeping heat in. Because when you've got a lot of walk-in enclosures, again, it's down to maximizing the use of keeping heat in and trying to limit the amount of electricity that is pumped out to obviously maintain the heat. So you don't want to lose the heat that quickly.
No, that's it. I mean, trying to the power enclosures that sort of size, that's going to use quite a lot of energy, especially when you said the heaters you got in there. That's going to be, your energy bills are probably sky high at the moment.
Yeah, they're not pretty. I mean, to be honest, you're looking at my last one there for April. For 3 months was about £2,650, for 3 months. So when you are heating big enclosures and keeping big species, the energy bills do skyrocket, but you could do it the cheap way and keep them in bibs, and it doesn't really do well for the animal.
Yeah, well, but also you don't just keep retics. Got quite a few other different ones. So what other animals do you have? Because I'm sure everyone will be interested to hear about some of those as well.
Yeah, so it's a shame that I couldn't obviously bring you around my premises, around my garden, to let you see some of the other animals as well. But it's just my Wi-Fi signal. I'm actually quite proud that it's still holding up, by the way. So you let me know if it starts to falter, but it's doing quite well so far. Other animals that I keep, again, as you say, I tend to like a lot of the big species. So I'm big into my monitor lizards, especially the Varanus salvators, the Asian water monitors. So I have probably nearly 10 of them, ranging in size from small babies through different hets. And then I've also got my biggest Asian water monitor, who's about 7 foot, big 7 foot male. He's in a big walk-in enclosure as well, the full-size pond. Some of the smaller ones that are coming up and growing, they are going to be going into big sort of 13, 14 foot long vivariums that are going to be 3-4 foot wide, 3-4 foot tall, with water areas as well as they grow. And again, that'll be looked at as they continue to grow to see what sizes they get to, if that needs adjusted. I also have recently got their pair of melanistic Asian water monitors, so pure jet black. They're absolutely phenomenal. The male out of those is growing phenomenally quickly. So plans are already being made that before Christmas he's going to have his own walk-in enclosure, because he's growing extremely rapidly, and I expect him to probably rise quite quickly up through the growth chart, adding on feet and size. So for an animal like that, it's only fair to give him a walk-in as well. Other Varanus that I keep then would be, I have white throats, black throat monitors as well. Moving across from them then, in the last few months there, I recently acquired a crocodile monitor, an adult, of around about 9 feet, maybe slightly over 9 feet. You'll see him again throughout Facebook and stuff. His name's Caesar. Again, phenomenal animal, huge big commitment, totally different than any other monitor I've kept or worked with, and I've worked with quite a few over the years. And again, it's just you're boiling down to the sheer power, the strength, an animal that literally, in my opinion, looks at you and studies what is going on and within its surroundings as well. And an animal that's very confident and obviously, given what it is, being a crocodile monitor and being a big adult male, has the potential to do serious, serious damage. Huge
Well,
big teeth,
they got
life
some
changing.
serious teeth on them.
Yeah, life changing injuries. Suspected to have further size. The longest teeth, obviously, of any lizard alive today. And I mean, I've seen the teeth. I've had a couple of them that have actually shed out, and they're no joke. And again, it's one of those animals that when you get it, you need to have a degree of confidence to be able to work with it and maintain it and be able to go in and out of that enclosure. He is in a walking enclosure. I've sent yourself some of the pictures there. You maybe upload at some point as well through the video or whatever.
Yeah,
But as I say, he's a phenomenal animal. It's a great learning curve for me. It's something that betters my understanding, furthers my knowledge as well when keeping Varanus. And again, a real challenge to work with, but also a very big privilege and honour to work with. He's teaching me a lot at the minute, especially when it comes to my handling skills as well, because you do have to handle him. He's not an animal that I handle loads, but he is an animal that maybe once, twice a month does have to be handled to get in and do necessary enclosure maintenance beyond what normal spot cleaning would do. Moving on for that, I have iguanas as well. I've kept iguanas for quite some time throughout my life. Great animals, fascinating animals. Probably out of all the big lizards that I've kept, an animal that does utilize a lot of space, and an animal that does. There's Caesar there, yeah. And an animal for an iguana. For me, for iguanas, they do utilize a lot of space, probably more space than any other big lizard that I have. So that's why you'll have seen mine have access to outdoors and stuff like that throughout the whole year. And they tend to go back and forward as they please and adjust their own body temperature as well. I also have quite a number of species of tortoise. I have red-footed tortoises, big sulcata tortoise as well. I have Hermann's tortoises, horsefield tortoises, leopard tortoises, a Greek spur-thighed tortoise. I have different types of chameleons, a few different panther localities, veal chameleons. I've got a Jackson's chameleon that'll be coming soon as well. Bearded dragons, which obviously are maybe some of the most beginner animals in the hobby, but again, they're fascinating. I have them for the work with the animal encounter business. Just trying to think off the top of my head what else. Tegu. Moving across then as well, I have Chinese crocodile lizards. Fascinating small species of lizard that I think are amazing, absolutely amazing. Very interactive, amazing to watch, amazing display piece. For such a small lizard, they pack a great personality. A species that I think are probably quite underrated and could be looked at a lot more, especially in captivity, especially by people keeping them. I've also recently acquired Fiji banded iguana. I hope to get a few more of them. Again, a tremendous species to work with. I'm growing one up at the minute. I've hopefully got a couple of adults coming in the next maybe few weeks to a month and a half. Should have some adults coming through. And again, fantastic species, totally different than the other ones that I would keep. Obviously, the iguana and your normal greens, and fascinating animals again. Alligator snapping turtle with quite a decent size one of them. Again, fantastic animal, even just to look at. Also to work with. They are what they say on the tin. They are quite aggressive out of water, but inside of water, I find them actually quite docile and quite tolerant, and you can move in and around that animal in the water quite freely. My one actually cohabs with my biggest Asian water monitor, and they have been cohabbing now for over a year. Okay. No incidents. Some people might find it quite a
because I mean, like, I've got common snappers at my work, and like, I mean, there's fish in there with them, but that was kind of accidental.
Yeah,
and they kind of ignore each other, but I wouldn't trust anything anywhere near their head. Kind of thing.
And I think from when I was doing my own research about all of this before I made that decision to do that, I'd done quite a bit of research, and from all the research that I had done, it had said that common snapping turtles were the more aggressor out of the two species, and that the alligator snapping turtles were actually quite content, in pools or in water areas where they could be brushed against or they could be moved and walked over and stuff like that without obviously snapping. And as I say, I found that mine gets on extremely well and content with the water monitor. Both of them feed in the pond. Water monitor feeds out of the pond, comes back into the pond, vice versa. There's no issues. Those animals lie on top of each other, lie under each other at times. They have a space enough to get away from each other. And again, there's been not one issue, not even so much as a nail or a toe has been taken off. And again, because I think in reality, the two animals, they're smart enough, they understand what each other is. The water monitor is not prey for the snapping turtle. The snapping turtle is not prey for the water monitor. That's Arlo there. Big animal, amazing animal, exceptional temperament on him. And could not ask for a better lizard. Probably my favorite lizard of all time that I have kept and continue to keep. And just got an absolutely splendid personality on him. You can do pretty much anything with him. I've worked with him now for over 3 years. And again, it's been amazing to watch him grow. He continues to keep growing. And, just a phenomenal animal. There's no two ways about it. But that's the guy that shares, in with the alligator snapping turtle. And as I say, it works well.
Okay. I'm not sure if you want to answer this one, but Liz asked, can't you ask how you afford to keep all these beautiful animals? What's your job?
Yeah, so it's not easy. I have a professional career that I do, full time, and then as well as that, I also have my Jurassic Ark Encounter business, and you could say it's probably full time as well. It sort of works around with the other one. So it does take a substantial amount of money to keep these. A very understanding family as well, my wife. From that aspect, to be able to sort of, maintain these animals, hold on to them. Can you just give me 1 wee second?
Hey, Wolf.
That's just one coming over there to say hello. So again, especially with your text, just to get away from that, but it's always about reading their body language, taking a look at what's going on. That's Pandora, one of my best animals there. You probably can't see it in the camera, but it's coming over there. You can see from that point that it's quite curious, tongue flicking the way the neck is. When I went to touch her there with a hook, you give the hook a little strike. But once she realizes that it's not food, she's just away back to sit and relax there. So again, I'm comfortable enough to stand with these animals. They're not going to do me any harm. Read the animal's body language, respond appropriately, and you avoid things like that there. I have another one sitting just over here watching me through the plants. So it is. So again, for me, this is not a dangerous situation. Some people might think it is, but I'm used to these animals. I've worked with them a lot. I've worked with them a lot in the enclosure, so it doesn't bother me. But as I said, go back to the job aspect. Work hard. That's Daisy. Daisy's my biggest. So she's 21.5 feet long. But as you can see there from the photo,
there you go. You can see it right now.
Yeah. As you can see from her, she's spectacular looking. She's not obese. That's a 21.5 foot animal. That's legit at that size. It's been measured with a fiberglass tape measure right down the spine, so there's no stretching involved. And she's an incredible animal, very lean. I keep all my retics very lean. I feed them huge big meals, less frequently, so the digestive system's not having to work continuously. With a big enclosure, as you can see, like this, it just means as well then that you are keeping the fat reserves down low. The animals are working, they're constantly moving around, they're changing different places within the environment to heat and thermoregulate, and also water area to swim and to submerge as well. So for me, the whole lot works together as a great team, and it keeps the animals nice and lean instead of having them obese and not being able to get themselves up off the floor.
Yeah, I think that's something that we see a lot. Just in reptiles in general in captivity, not just privately, but also in zoos and stuff as well, is obese. Especially snakes, and especially sometimes the larger snakes. And you certainly see that a lot on some of the real large kind of reptile YouTube channels and stuff, where they're just got really obese retics or berms or whatever. And some of them are just fed kind of just far too often and fed very sort of fatty meals. So, in regards to that, some people, I know some people that have really strict kind of feeding regimes of like, I feed, every, whether it be like once every 2 months or I feed every week or whatever. Do you have a strict regime, or is it I'll feed you a big meal here and then I'll wait for 3 months and I'll feed you maybe some smaller meals and then wait a little bit and then?
Yeah, there's no regime at all. It's basically the animal's behavior plays a part in dictating when it gets fed. Given huge meals, given appropriate, decent amount of fast in between. Sometimes they're not always huge meals. Sometimes the meals are slightly smaller. But my bigger retics here are taking things like goats, multiple lambs, multiple foxes, multiple chickens, small deer, stuff like that.
Just answer the question that's just come in, actually. So I just asked, what do you feed a retic that size? So you just literally just answered that.
Yeah, well, that's it. You've got Charlotte there. I think was that Charlotte that asked that question, was it? Yeah.
Yeah, she just asked, yeah, what do you feed a retic that size,
Yeah.
or what a retic that size fed on?
Yeah, so I mean, again, you're looking at so foxes. Everything that I get is sourced. A lot of the food that I do feed them is sourced naturally. It can be farm animals that die naturally, and it can be animals that are naturally culled in different estates and stuff where there is culling that goes on to limit numbers of foxes and stuff like that. So they are sourced ethically and they are fed obviously dead. And again, it's a great way for obviously keeping the fat content down because you have animals that are moving around, grazing naturally, and that aren't cooped up in small cages, being overloaded with food. Pump them up to a size where they're appropriate for a feeder. So if you just give me 2 little seconds here, we've got another one coming up this way. That's it. Just like that. Easy done.
Yeah, and Leah's just put it. Yeah, there's eats rabbits, piglets, and quails.
Yeah. Yeah, so people, you'll see people who feed different things like that. As you say, rabbits, piglets. Piglets for me, pigs are very high, especially piglets, very, very high in fat content. You're looking at big fat content there. Maybe okay for an animal that is underweight that you're trying to put weight on. But again, would I feed it as a staple? No, I like to mix the diet up a lot. So some of these animals here are taking maybe 2 foxes in the one meal sitting, multiple prey items. It's replicating one huge big meal, and then they're waiting for a period of time to be able to bring that back down again, and then be fed. So like some of my animals here, they could be fed maybe once in 4 months, something like that. After that 4-month gap, they're fed, and that could be a small meal maybe, and then they're maybe fed 8 weeks later. There's no rhyme or reason to it. It's just mixing the prey up and down like they would in the wild, like they would receive, like they would get, and that's what it boils down to.
And it's something that I certainly find, and I've sort of realised is that we as humans, when we kind of if we get into it, it is so alien to us to think that an animal can have one big meal and then go 4 months plus and not be hungry, because obviously we should ideally eat 3 nice meals a day, kind of thing, to keep our body temperatures up and give us energy. But we then think very mammal centric, and often forget things like reptiles. They don't need, no reptile really needs to eat every single day, sort of thing.
Yeah, no, well, that's it.
And
exactly.
Certainly the sort of your larger carnivorous ones, can go a hell of a long time not needing any food, because when I was at AHH conference earlier this year, as I was trying to say that reptiles get 90% of their energy from light, and 10% of their energy from the food they eat.
Yeah, no, that's it exactly. And again, it's trying to control that food intake, to be able to make sure that you're not giving them too much. We're not feeling sorry for them, thinking, oh, they need to eat, and then they start to put on weight. So they do. So again, that's basically what it just boils down to. So it does. So.
Large the screen a little bit, because I'm just see one go. Just saw a head poking into the pond there a little bit, and then I just put it on slightly large, and it's just gone behind the branch.
Yeah, was that? Yeah. So they are very intelligent. They're aware that I'm in here for a period of time, and that's Tiger Lily coming out there. So they are aware of that I am in here, and they're not silly either. So all we're doing is just basically bringing them down, again, and just being able to keep an eye on where they are. That's it, really.
Absolutely. Hey, Susan. Obviously, some people may be wondering, you're sitting there, you've got hook in your hand. Some people may be wondering why you've got that in your hand. So can you explain to people, like, obviously, what the use of a hook is, and also the different types of hook? Because you've got one there. That looks like an MP hook to me.
It is. It's
I've got one myself at work.
Yeah, so, Mark Clemmer himself. Yeah. So it's an MP hook. This is one actually probably used for venomous. It's like a gaboon scoop, but it's good enough for me for reticulated pythons. All I use it for, again, is basically an extension of my arm. It's not used to actually pull the snake or hook the snake in any way. It's just used as a touch method to keep the snake, in check. So if I'm coming in here and the snake's sitting, it's basically, again, to let the snake know this isn't food. You know, this is me. That's all it's for. It's just to break that initial feeding response. Reticulated pythons obviously do have a very, very strong feeding response, to be honest. And you don't obviously want to get bit by them. They're very strong animals. They're very powerful animals. So again, keeper safety is always first and foremost. I'm sitting here doing this video live, and again, all we're doing is just keeping an eye constantly around of what's going on around me, being aware. I've Pandora over here at my feet. I've Tiger Lily, she's sitting up there outside the pond. So you're just always watching around just to make sure that they are where they're supposed to be, and that they maybe haven't triggered into a feeding response because I'm sitting in here for quite a period of time, and they could maybe have forgotten, about basically that touch, and that's basically what you're looking at.
No, exactly, and for me, I mean, a snake cook is for me a snake keeper's like best friend sometimes. I've always got I have one snake at work, but my parents have snakes and stuff. And snake hooks are incredibly useful bits of equipment just for, like I say, just for touching, just to gauge what their temperament's going to be like and stuff.
Yeah.
Just and so they really, really, really help. And the Mark Plymouth ones, I really do like his hooks. He makes some decent hooks as Mark.
No, they're absolutely phenomenal. So they are. Very, very sturdy piece of kit. Very invaluable piece of kit. Can be used wrongly, obviously, just like anything.
Yes.
But providing you use them rightly. And again, I've got Pandora coming back over here on the floor that again you probably can't see. She's making her way across, and again that's her just having a mooch. But all we're doing again is just obviously implying some safety, and we're bringing ourselves right back over again. We're touching on top of the head, just one stroke, not a bang. We don't need to do a big bang with the hook. Again, it's just all we're doing is we're stroking down the animal's head like that, just to let them know what's there and what's happening. And again, with retics, with any large animal, yourself from working in a zoo, common sense is what prevails each time. It's just being sensible.
That's it. No, absolutely. So it's got quite a good one here actually. Kesha asks, obviously you know your animals really well and always aware where they are around you, but do you have any species or specific animal that you are more wary of?
Yeah, I mean, it's about knowing your animals. It's about knowing their limitations, what's going to annoy them, what's going to push them, that sort of thing. So for me, sitting in here at the minute, Tiger Lily there, who was coming up, as you've seen, out of the pond. Tiger Lily's quite a ferocious feeder. She's quite a strong feeding response. So when that animal's coming up like that, you can see initially when she's coming out through the leaves, it's hard for you to see in the camera. You can see a slight S in the neck, and you know that she's sitting that if anything sort of warm-blooded, even my hand comes near, she's going to grab it. She's a wonderful animal. Once her feeding response is broke, she's absolutely fine to handle. So again, all I was doing there is touching her, just letting her know that it's me. Pandora down in the corner, my go-to animal for encounters with children, and an amazing snake. I've been using her now for over 3 years. She's probably seen and met the guts of, I would say, between 30 to 40,000 people in that time.
Wow.
And has been able to promote, big snake husbandry and how amazing these animals can be. So again, fantastic, but again, super strong feeding response. The big one that you maybe seen in the video on the back of the pond with the sort of white yellow head poking up was Daisy. You showed a picture of Daisy. Daisy's 21.5 feet.
Yep.
Wonderful animal. But when you go to remove her in this enclosure, especially from the pond, she will hold her ground. She will strike at you. She will gape. She's not an animal in the enclosure to get silly with or to become complacent. She's quite capable of hurting you in quite a bad way. But again, take the safety steps, deal with the animal appropriately. I know her well enough, and I know that once I can get my hands underneath the top third of her body and I pull her straight up into the air, that's that response broken. She'll no longer gape, she'll no longer strike. But the hemming and hawing and around between that, where you're maybe trying to touch her with a hook or manipulate her to come towards you, that's the area where you can run the risk of getting bit, or a strike coming up out of the pond, or a strike in a wee crevice area as well. That can quite easily happen. Some of my other animals that I have, just under ticks, I've got a big female pied heading towards 16 foot called Diablo. That animal has bitten and wrapped her owner on 2 occasions just without warning. So again, that's an animal just to be wary of. I now am holding her free hand without venom defender gloves. I started off using venom defender gloves with her. I'm now holding her free hand a lot more, and we're working together in a better relationship. Would I trust that animal? Absolutely not. Would that animal ever go out into a setting with the public? Absolutely not. I've got Summer sitting in the pond there. She's over 20 feet. Again, absolute puppy dog. You can come in and walk around her. As long as you touch her first with the hook, you can come in and walk around her just like with Pandora and the other ones. No issues. I have a big male who's heading towards 18 foot, Lord P. And then a lot of people have seen him over Facebook. Fantastic animal. Strong feeding response. As per any big male, very strong-willed animal. Again, you just always have to be wary of him, especially during breeding season. I still take him out during breeding season, still work with him, but you just have to be wary with him. Moving over to the croc monitor, an animal that we're building up a relationship, but there's absolutely no way that I could trust that animal, where he's not going to do me any harm. It's one of those things that's on a tolerance basis. If I'm holding him in my arms, to get him to that point to be able to hold him, there's a struggle coming out of the enclosure. He'll maybe try and bite me on the bicep or the arm. He'll do maybe a bit of whipping. There's that confrontation stage. Once you get past that and you get him up into the air to hold him, he will sit for you, and he'll not be too bad, to be honest. But again, you couldn't trust him. Some of my other monitors there as well. Again, quite bitey, quite flighty. That big 7-foot one that you've seen, Arlo, enemy as an animal. I can rub my hand all over that animal's head. I can go in and pick him up. I may not have maybe handled him for 2 months, but I can go in and lift him, or I can go in and climb into his pond. He'll not do me any harm. He's very, very tolerant. I have obviously some of my primates as well, black cap capuchin monkeys, ringtail lemurs. Again, I can go in and around and mix amongst them. The minute you try and grab any of those animals, they're going to bite you. They're going to let you know, I don't want this. And again, when an animal bites, it's human complacency or human fault. It's not the animal's fault. They're just doing what nature intended. They're keeping you away. They're keeping you back. That's it.
Yeah,
so you can probably see Daisy. You can probably see Daisy in the background there at the minute in the pond, just the sort of white, yellow head, neck area. So, as I say, she's an amazing animal. They're all very much aware that I'm in here. If I go to go in now to try and lift her, it'll be a wee bit of a wrestling match to begin with. She will come out, but there'll be some gaping, some striking, water going up to the ceiling when she's splashing around. But she will come out. Once you get her out over the top of that pond, she's a different animal.
That's it. Touching on some of the things I've got at work, pygmy marmosets.
Yes.
Which we've bred twice now, and the older sort of babies, I go in there, and they're both all over me. They're trying to get in my pockets and stuff, and people obviously publicly are like, "Oh, that's really cute," and then I have to go, "Yeah, but if I was to try and pick them up, they're going to bite me," sort of thing. They're not tame whatsoever.
Yeah,
so
no, definitely.
they see me as food. And see me as like, oh, I might have a tasty treat in my pocket, and I'm something to play with and play on, and something to play hide and seek with, and this, that, the other. But I know full well if I was to try and put my hand around one, they're going to sink their teeth into me straight away, because that's not. It's all on their terms, and they don't want to actually be touched that way.
Yeah, no, that's it exactly. And it's just, again, everything boils down to common sense. Dealing with animals, working with animals, with yourself on a daily basis, everything just boils down to common sense. Reading the animal, understand the animal's body language, prevents mistakes in the beginning. It gives you a better understanding of what the animal does or doesn't like, and it gives you that way to deal with it, professionally, safely, and in a more tolerable manner for the animal without stressing it either.
Yeah, and even like giving the animal time to build up trust with you and stuff. Again, I've got a rhino iguana at work, Carmen. Which is by far my favourite lizard at work. One of probably my favourite lizard I've ever worked with. But it took me a good 3 years or so to gain her trust.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. And it was going at her pace.
I think when you touched on time's a big factor with animals. There's no golden textbook that's got the answer for everything, and it's one of them things you'll realise yourself, and so will other keepers. You learn through experience. And there's no substitute for it. You can do all the theoretical experience you want and read about it and watch it on YouTube and everything else, but there is no substitute for hands-on practical experience over time. Time as well when you're dealing with animals, especially predatory animals, large animals, category 1 animals that could do you harm. Again, instead of rushing things with them and trying to get them out, or rushing trying to deal with them, taking that little bit of time and analysing, time gives you options. You rush things, you lose options. you ultimately lose in the end. Whereas if you take that bit of time, it gives you the options, obviously, to deal with it in the safe manner.
Yeah, absolutely. Normally, I've been putting your Facebook, your Instagram, and your TikTok in chat for people to go and
Yeah,
give you a follow. But Susan's asked, do you do YouTube at all? She's followed you on
yeah,
the others.
yeah. I have a YouTube channel there. Yeah, I think you have the link for it. I'm going to start to try and post on it more. I've always been big into Facebook social media with putting up posts and pictures. I never really probably thought that maybe people would want to hear me on any of the other platforms in video mode. But I've started TikTok recently. I've been enjoying the videos. A big thing for me is always positive education. So it's some of the videos on TikTok there will show you what a baby Asian water monitor starts out like, what a baby
Yeah,
Asian water monitor grows into, what a baby reticulated python starts out like, what an adult reticulated python can look like, and get up through the different stages. So again, it's about in this hobby, we have to sort of self-regulate ourselves, and it's about trying to put forward a positive light on these animals. That yes, they can be kept, and they can be kept well, and they can be worked with well, and I can work with a reticulated python and handle it as easy as I could handle a corn snake potentially. But again, it's about doing it in the right way, doing it in a safe
yeah,
manner, and doing it in a positive manner. You know, every time a reptile keeper makes a blunder and it goes public, it takes maybe 20 or 30 good occurrences after that to try and reset that blunder that's been portrayed out there to the social media world. And that's a big thing. And education is key about how we move forward as a hobby. You know, there's a wealth of information, a wealth of knowledge out there these days. It's sort of ignorant if we don't use it, we don't avail of it, especially when we're trying to purchase new species. And we're always learning. One of us can never know enough. I'm not a professional. I've never claimed to be a professional. I would say I'm a competent keeper and a competent handler, but I still learn. I still have people that I go to on a regular basis for help with snakes, monitors, other animals as well that I can touch base. I've been very lucky. I've had a couple of great mentors throughout the years for different species of animals that have helped me and have sort of guided me and give me tips. And then I've run ideas past them, and that's what it's all about, and that's what it should be about. All of this sort of macho bravado and I'm better than you or you're better than me and I shouldn't listen to you and you shouldn't listen to me. I should try and get away from that a little bit more and try and, sort of educate, inspire and share ideas, which is something that you would have seen yourself. I would have talked about in the West Midlands talk.
absolutely.
Educate, share, inspire, and that in turn, we go forward in a better way.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And unfortunately, there's still sort of some of the old guard that are like, well, no, I spent however many years building this information. I'm not just going to give
Yeah,
it out to someone. It's all like, well, no, this and age it is sort of, most of us are more like, this is how I done it, so other people can do it as well. I want to see other people,
yeah,
take my information and run with it and improve on it
yeah,
and stuff. Oh, I managed to get to here.
yeah,
I want you to do better than I have, sort of thing on this or whatever. And
yeah. I mean,
that's certainly something for me. If at my work I've chatted to a kid or someone who's then got into keeping a species of beetle or whatever, and then they're breeding those and they're keeping them far better than I am, or whatever. I'm like, that's fantastic. That's
yeah,
brilliant. That's what it's about.
and that's a perfect attitude. And I mean, on your social media channels and on your YouTube channel and stuff, it's again someone like yourself promoting inverts in a positive way.
Yeah,
It's all about showing the downsides too, showing what works. And again, as you said there, and that's 100% right. If you can enable someone to keep better, even to do better than what I'm doing or what you're doing, that's a goal reached. Better animal keeping, better husbandry. I mean, go back to the ethos there of the AHH groups and stuff like that, where you want these animals to thrive,
yeah,
not just survive, and that is a key purpose. These animals deserve our best. We take them on, we bring them into our care, and it's down to us to do better and to look after them. And one of my things with me is I'm never happy. I'm always chasing the distance, always, and I'm always trying to
yeah,
improve. And I always criticize myself, and I always think, how can I do better? This enclosure is good, it's big. I'd love to be bigger.
yeah. I think that's the thing. It's I think last year at AHS it was Robert Mendyke.
Yeah,
He came in from the US. It's actually it was is a zookeeper in the US, and I think he's the editor of the Veranda Times as well. I think, and I'm basically touching on this, and he literally brought up this graph. I don't know if he made the graph or someone else made it, but it was all like literally like the levels of going up, and it's like you were constantly here aiming for this. Aiming for rival, or aiming for this better thing that we'll never ever reach, but we keep going up and up and up and up and up.
Yeah,
and we keep extending it, even further and stuff. Whereas if we just stayed still at the bottom, it's like, well, that's kind of rubbish.
It's that chasing your hero analogy. You're never going to be your hero, but you'll always keep trying to chase that, and I think that's the thirst and the drive that needs to be there, to do that. So it is, and that ability to be able to keep moving and to recognize, as you say, where you've maybe kept for 20 or 30 years, and then you realize, I haven't been maybe doing this great, or this maybe isn't acceptable anymore. I need to change and not become stagnant in my ways, and that's a big thing.
It's totally. I mean, the way, my first exotic was leopard gecko, over 20 years ago, and the way I kept it back then, I would never keep them like that nowadays. I mean, there's still people that do keep them like that nowadays, but I certainly wouldn't, because of there's all this new information about them, seeing pictures that friends of mine have taken of them in the wild and stuff, and they said I was like, well, no, that's what I would want to do now, kind of thing, to enjoy the animal better, and get just for myself as well, just to get more enjoyment out of it. I'd rather see. Something in some way inverts are in, not necessarily aesthetically pleasing enclosures. Some of them are very just functional, basic enclosures for rearing up, whether it be tarantula slings or whatever, but where I can, I'll try and put them in a bit of a display enclosure because I enjoy that. They're all in my living room. I want to see something nice and not just plastic tub.
Yeah, exactly.
And inverts slightly different. So there's not necessarily anything wrong with that. I've got plenty of plastic tubs. I've got plenty of plastic tubs of dirt and stuff. But you get a new appreciation of the animals, especially with snakes and lizards and stuff. But I think snakes, certainly, for a lot of people, when you start going just pop some topsoil and some leaf litter in, sort of thing, and just see how they interact with that rather than keeping them on kitchen towel.
And I'm sure yourself, you do see there is interaction with the stuff. Smelling dirt, rummaging in dirt, climbing, brushing past maybe something that feels a little bit of a different texture for them, that they enjoy. So they do interact with their environment. We don't need to keep them in sterile tubs and sterile enclosures where there's nothing but a bowl. So it's important that way. As I say, for me, definitely as a keeper, always improving, always looking at what works, looking at what doesn't work. Dave Kaufman does some quite good videos there on YouTube of the animals in the wild. I've watched a couple of his on the reticulated python in the wild and the Asian water monitor in the wild, and that's helped my, keeping when I've been building these enclosures as to looking at his studies in the wild of temperatures, of humidity readings, of the environment that they're found in and how they're actually functioning. And again, it's important as a keeper to look at that because, we want to keep as naturally to the wild as possible, and it benefits the animal. And I mean, one thing that I would say, and I probably said this in the talk back in the West Midlands, was for me, I want people to get excited about their animals. I want them to feel good about keeping reptiles or exotic animals, whatever they're keeping. But I want them to feel a really good passion about it. I want them to pick up their phone camera, pick up a professional camera, whatever, and enjoy like I do. That's why I post a lot. I enjoy taking pictures of the animals. I enjoy taking pictures of the animals doing different things, whether it's feeding, whether it's in their enclosure, whether it's me with the animal, whatever. Getting those pictures out there on the social media, getting good pictures out, being proud of how your animals are kept, being proud of what they're doing, being proud of how they look, and, taking that passion for that and going forward and sharing it with others and being positive because that's what it should be about. We shouldn't be hiding some of the stuff that we keep. We should be being positive about it and displaying it in a positive way. I mean, I keep primates. I post pictures and videos on them. Primates are probably one of those group of animals that the private sector in them are so quiet and so, alienated to the public because they're so afraid that they post something out there, it's going to be used against them or it's going to be used in a negative way. But, I've continued to do that throughout my whole career with primates. And that's been going on now, 15 years, as such. And I'll keep doing that because portraying them in a good light, puts that image out there, and then it's not then being shown the bad light, which is what we so often see.
Hey, Aaron. Yeah, I mean, primates. Yeah, privately, it's obviously quite a or for some people, it's quite a controversial sort of topic and stuff. And there's always this back and forth about whether, as primates as pets, whether primates as pets are going to be banned. And I very much see a distinct difference between pet and privately kept.
Yeah.
So, and there's a distinct difference between certain social media videos or posts where you might see whether it's a marmoset or whatever kind of primate being, stroked, groomed with a toothbrush, which is just like, yeah, don't do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or
no, I agree. I mean, for me,
Loris is that they're doing the whole arms up in the air, and people go, "Oh, that's cute." It's like, no, that's a threat to sleep sort of thing. That's threat.
No, for me, it's very simple. Primates aren't pets. They never will be. They never were. They never are. They're never going to be. I mean, I hand rear a black-capped capuchin monkey, probably one of the most coveted animals in the exotic animal community with mammals that somebody would want to have and would want to rear as a baby and try and imprint on them and have it as a cute, cuddly baby. They are probably the smartest when it comes to monkeys, for their brain size compared to their skull proportion. But again, my goal with that animal was I didn't want to show that animal when it was being hand reared loads in the house and being, affection shown to it, which is what it needed certain times to try and obviously bring it on socially. Because showing that portrays that in a bad light and gives other people the idea that they can do that and that's what should be done. Instead, I wanted to show that animal and I done quite a big post on it. Marcel from teat to troop, I called it. And it was basically getting that animal from the teat of a bottle when it was an infant, when it was rejected by mum on day one, and getting that animal 8 months later to going back out into its family troop and being a monkey. And that's what that animal is now. I still have a very close bond with him. I can still go out. We can interact. I can put my hand up, give him a scratch. He'll chew on my finger. He'll come down and rub his head into me. That's it. I try and lift that animal. He'll bite me and squeal, and I'm happy with that. That's the way it should be.
Yeah. So here we got. I don't work with them, but we've got 6. Two groups of 3 yellow-breasted capuchins here.
Yeah.
They are incredibly intelligent. We recently got sort of 3 that were sort of more recent arrivals. And one of them makes the most eerie noise ever that none of us had ever heard. My colleague, who's worked with primates most of her keeping careers, masters in primatology, loves working with capuchins, has worked with capuchins a lot in her career. I've never heard a capuchin make this noise. And essentially, we brought it down to we think it's trying to mimic the crows by the jackdaws and trying to entice jackdaws to come to the enclosure so we can catch them. How the hell have you worked that out?
I mean, my ones there and they have taken birds out of the air, killed them.
They will do, but I saw like the fact that one just sits there and it'll make this eerie call. When we first saw it, I was like, what the hell is that? We thought it was a caracara making a noise until I actually physically saw one of the capuchins myself doing. I was like, it's your capuchins. What the hell? It's one of these new capuchins. And they're like, no, I've never heard one make that noise before, sort of thing, and stuff. And then it was like, I think it's actually trying to entice the jackdaws to come near the enclosure so they can grab them.
Yeah. No, they're phenomenal animals. Phenomenal. Amazing species. But, as you would agree yourself from working in the zoo capacity, they're best left to their own devices and to be a monkey and with limited interaction.
Oh, absolutely. Although again, the keepers that work with them they go in with them, but they are a Cat 1 animal and stuff, and it's it's only very much trained staff that do that, and there's risks involved. You may get one that comes up and slaps you or pulls your hair or something.
No, you do at times, and you probably see here in the background. Maybe now I'm trying to see if I don't know why you can see or not. We've got the tiger lily here coming up through the mesh, so she's loading up there at the minute for a strike. And what we're going to do is try and go underneath the chin and just give her a wee dump back. So, I mean, she's loading up there for a strike, but you don't want her always striking the hook. If you can, avoiding them striking the hook is obviously better for them. They're not hitting their teeth off steel. So if you go in nice and slowly like that, underneath the chin and top up underneath, that's her out of her feed response. She's drifting away off down that way now. She is quite an intense animal, so, you will see her here continually sort of coming over to approach me. She's the one animal I learned a mistake with probably maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. I came in here with her and she was sitting over in that area over there where Pandora currently is. And I came in, broke the feeding response, and I was taking pictures in the enclosure. And I'd looked over at her again 10 minutes later, and she was sitting doing nothing. And I was like, oh, everything's safe, everything's fine. She's still sitting there. And I took my eye off her, and I turned around, and she had came across the floor here underneath me. And as I was taking a panoramic of the enclosure, she struck out, and the first I felt was with one tooth went into my ankle, and it caused me to turn around quickly, which meant she didn't get a full mouth from me. She only got one tooth on the ankle. But it was a big learning curve, and she was loaded up, ready to go again. So you see me turning around loads. It's an experience, and it's one of the experiences that taught me that, I'll never take my eye off her. She's currently sitting here right now, just below those leaves. So she is, so she'll always test you. She's a great animal out of the enclosure, but inside the enclosure here, she'll always sit and test you. So she will, and she'll always still keep an eye and watch where you are and see how things change.
Well, that's it. I mean, at the end of the day, you're in their environment, you're in their territory, if you like, and stuff. So it's their home, and they're like, well, actually, I don't want you in here, or whatever. It's always recognizing those signals and stuff. And I say, it's something that we all have to learn, and sometimes learn the hard way, is about not being complacent with our animals sometimes. And it can be sometimes too easy to become complacent with certain animals. Until
I agree.
You get bitten or you get whipped or scratched or whatever, whatever the animal is and stuff, and then you go, oh yeah, I messed up there. I need to, need to perhaps have, keep a close eye on things or whatever. Again, much as Calm and Rhino go on at work, I allow volunteers to go in there and deal with her. She'll climb up them. She's loving this, that, the other. But there's the odd day where she doesn't want to know. She doesn't want you in there, and she'll let you know. And if so you've got to be. It's still a case of like, well, can't be complacent with her. This sort of thing. It's all on her terms.
Exactly.
She will let you know, look, I don't want you in here. And it's like, right, cool, we go out.
I agree 100%. And I mean, obviously these animals that I'm currently sitting in here with, they go out to the public. Kids interact with these. Adults interact with these. Again, it's all about reading the animal's body language on that day, how that animal's behaving. Is that animal suitable to go out? When that animal comes out of the box, when it's out in the public, is that animal still suitable to be out? And again, some people probably look at it and go, you're taking out giant reticulated pythons to the public. Kids are holding these, kids are looking at them, but it's all done in a very safe manner. And for anybody that does, check out my Jurassic Facebook page, my Jurassic Instagram and the TikTok, you'll see maybe 14, 16, 17, 18 children holding some of these giant reticulated pythons in a line. But it's done in a very safe manner. The rules are all explained to the kids before the animals come out. When the animals do come out, they get facts and educational points of view on where these animals come from in the wild, what they actually can do to catch their food, how they actually can survive, why their tongues fork, why they are the color they are. If they're a genetic mutation like Daisy or Summer, why that color wouldn't survive in the wild. And then after we've been through all that sort of stuff with them and what they sort of eat and how they eat as well, we get them up to handle. We make sure the children are happy enough with it, and the teachers or the parents or whoever's with them. And then it's again, the way we do it is we get them obviously to stand in a straight line. The animal's head's directed away from them, and it's maintained control by myself, my brother and my wife who work for me, who are very valuable to me, my brother Ethan and my wife Elaine. They will then lift that animal's body and place it across their arms. They hold the animal with an undergrip like this, against their forearm, and that animal lies across in unison in one big line. The animal's well supported, and the head and neck area is up with myself, so that takes away and negates any potential chance. If that animal decides, no, something's going to go wrong here, and I'm maybe going to bite, that means that the public are safe. The animal can't bite them, and if something does happen, I can then move the animal straight off their arms in a quick fashion and take it offside. So again, it's about letting people, members of the public and children, see the sizes these animals can get to, how amazing these animals are, but also doing it in a very safe manner where they can interact and they can learn about it as well. Because for me, education is very much a hands-on thing. By being hands-on and being interactive, I think they keep those memories and they keep those educational points, and it retains a lot better than just reading it out of a textbook.
Absolutely. When I was studying and stuff, I always learned a lot more by physically doing things and physically interacting with animals than I did
Yeah.
by reading books on them and stuff. I love books. I love books on animals, but the actual physical doing it, you retain it more. And certainly, I always remember going, having someone come into school with some snakes or some lizards or whatever, and showing them, and I'll just be transfixed on them and the
Yeah.
thing, and lapping up everything that they said about them and stuff. So we'll go into that. So obviously, that's Jurassic Ark is your business of doing sort of these sort of workshops, encounters, and stuff with the animals.
Yeah.
And so is that kind of like schools, after school clubs, parties,
Yeah.
groups,
So
mates, things like that?
we try to be as inclusive as possible so that nobody's, avoided or nobody's missed out. So we do nursery schools, we do primary schools, we do secondary schools and colleges. When you get into primary and secondary, um, obviously your children are learning in appropriateness with their key stage topics, maybe about the rainforest, desert, predator prey, amazing animals and adaptations and abilities, or endangered species, or other different topics that they can cover. Younger ones will cover dinosaurs, stuff like that as well, and reptiles as well are covered as a general topic as well. So basically, what we do is we put together our interactive workshops to suit what they're learning about. We also have skeletons and skins and stuff as well to show the anatomy of these animals underneath the flesh, the way their anatomy is built up. Also to try and dispel any myths too. So, for instance, one of the things you'll hear in the workshops is, the tortoises go and find a shell, live in it, then leave it, and go and grab another shell. So by using basically a taxidermist specimen of a tortoise that's cut in half in the shell, you can show
Yeah,
them inside the shell, what it is like for that animal, that the space that's in there for that animal to pull its limbs in, to house its organs, and about where the skeletal structure is on that animal, because obviously a lot of people don't know what the inside looks like. So it's beneficial that way. You would get people with snakes that think snakes don't have any bones, that they're just a big sausage, effectively. So we have a snake skeleton that's been articulated with a snake around a branch. So we're able to show the spine, the ribs, how they connect to the skull. And then we have a skull specimen as well for articulated python to show how the jaws are positioned, how the front two jaws aren't joined by a chin like ours, how they sit in sort of two sections. And then we can explain via that about the ligaments and elasticated tendons that give that animal the ability to stretch the mouth open, and about the way the teeth are positioned, about how they're designed to hook in and hold on, and about when you look at the likes of the four rows on a reticulated python in the upper jaw, about how the inner rows are like little hooks that walk along the prey to pull the prey further into the throat. So there's stuff like that. We obviously then able to show them snake shed skins to show them what a snake shed's like, the purpose of why they shed their skin in the first place, to do with growth, healing if they're cut, and to also rid themselves of parasites and stuff that they would find in the wild, and different things like that. We have a few endangered species there, such as our Chinese crocodile lizards, a Fiji banded iguana, and into some of our tortoise species there as well, that we can show why these animals are becoming endangered due to habitat loss and destruction, the exotic animal pet trade where they're poached, the poaching trade where they're poached out as well to have some of their body parts sold for trinkets or Chinese medicine. So that works quite well. But the fundamental principle basically is about that we want these sessions to be interactive, to predominantly provide people with an educational base on reptiles in general, get rid of the myths and the stigmas surrounding them, get people to fall in love with them and actually want to learn more about them in the first place, and actually want to have a passion for them, that they may realize when they're on holiday, I'm not going to buy that snake skin, I'm not going to buy that alligator tooth, not going to do these things because it's supporting the poaching aspect. We also cover residential care homes with the elderly. So again, it's a great way for getting some of the elderly generation involved with reptiles. It's a great way for obviously their own mental health, for the different textures and stuff too. And that would lead me on till I do a lot of work with various groups that have maybe learning difficulties or disabilities. The likes of, you have autism, you have Asperger's, ADHD. You have some of the groups we go to with maybe severe learning difficulties when it comes to where their learning capacities at. Also people who are maybe amputees and stuff like that. So again, it's about making education and fun interactive learning inclusive for all, no matter what your age, what your gender, what your ability, what your physical ability or your mental ability. It's about being able for everyone to enjoy these animals, experience them, and come away with a better knowledge and understanding of them, and in turn get a better passion and a better love for them going forward.
Oh, that's fantastic. So I mean, going up to 9:45 because I'll probably be showing out at about 10. So, but also,
Yep.
anyways, what's kind of next in the pipeline for Jurassic Ark or just yourself in general?
Uh, I guess I would like to see more of a. I would like to see probably maybe more of an educational social media aspect where, you know, I have more educational videos online, more educational content, being able to share these animals with keepers like yourself, you know, whether professional, whether beginner, intermediate, or advanced.
Yeah.
I like to do a lot of content based on what people want to see. You know, I didn't ever start out with my animals. I mean, I've always tried to keep the best that I can. And even if I didn't have social media, I would still keep like this. This is not a this is not me keeping for a certain way just to portray it to the public to get likes and follows and get admiration. It's not that. I would keep this way irrespective of whether I had social media or not. But I would like to have more of a social media influence, maybe, you know, and try and steer away from a lot of the clickbait, sensationalized reptile content that you see where it's huge reticulated pythons striking at me and, you know, these things are trying to wrap around me and, you know,
Yeah,
lizards
see,
playing around floors. You know, I want to try and have more of a presence where it's about these animals are amazing. They're fascinating. Here's how rewarding it can be to work with. Here's the occasional downside where you have an animal that's maybe a bit cantankerous, and here's how you deal with it safely and manage that animal, as opposed to rolling around the floor with it, putting the animal in danger, putting yourself in danger, and maybe generally the public in danger. Um, Showing more content, especially with regards to the big species, as to, you know, why these animals get bought when they're young as babies and what people should be prepared to for these animals when they get bigger, you know, that sort of thing. You know, so again, it's all about it's all about education for me and being able to portray these animals in a positive light and just let people see that these animals are amazing. They're cool, they're fascinating, and they're just works of art. Mother Nature made them really well, and that's it. You know, with Jurassic itself, it continues to go and grow from strength to strength. It's going now 4 years this month. I never thought that there would have been the the potential for people to want to see these animals as badly, even if they are frightened of them, and two, that it's helped me get to a certain nice, happy contentment where I have a great selection of species around me. I get to deliver them indirectly to the public and watch their faces light up and watch them get enjoyment out of it. And especially the people that are maybe, you know, have a phobia of snakes or don't like these, getting that initial touch. I had a gentleman the other week I done a birthday party at, and again, you hear birthday and you think, oh, this is just for fun and games. It's not. That gentleman's aspiration was it was his 40th birthday. In 40 years, he had never held a snake, and he wanted to overcome that phobia, and he chose us to be able to deliver that to him, and we did it, and it was amazing. And he held snakes from babies right up till 16, 17 feet long, you know, with our assistance. And it's a really remarkable feeling to be able to change someone's perspective and someone's outlook, you know, on these animals. And for me, that's what it's about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I've done similar myself with with displays and stuff, and had people come up that are in the 40s, 50s, or like I said, going to residential home and stuff, and have people in their 80s, 90s that had never touched a snake, and then and that just made their day, that made their year and stuff, and and just seeing the joy on that person's face, like, oh my god, I've been scared of these for 80 years, and now I'm not, sort of thing. It's like, well, that's amazing, kind of thing.
And it is, and I mean, you'll relate to this yourself, but for me, one of the things that I try and teach when I am out is that, when you're born as a child, you're born with a fear of light and sound. You're not, you love snakes and you don't mind snakes just the way you don't mind dogs and cats. When you become afraid of these animals, it's through family and friends or public perception is what makes you afraid of them. Half the time, and you've probably seen it yourself and other keepers watching this or other professionals, that when you ask somebody, why are you afraid of this animal? They don't know.
No.
They don't actually know. And that's a sad concept of reality. Of how something in a negative light, can paint someone's perception of this for such a long time. So getting in young, getting them involved young is a really great tool and a really great asset to help and promote upcoming keepers, as they get older.
Yeah,
in my
that's it.
opinion.
Well, I think a lot of it sometimes comes down to language used
Yeah,
a lot of time, like the negativities, whether it be with snakes, with spiders, and so. But especially like snakes, you often hear if someone's perhaps perhaps not a nice person, or whether they get called a snake or they're a
yeah,
snake and stuff. So instantly, we're saying that a snake's a negative by
yeah,
referring to someone as a snake. There's obviously certain religions that the snake was seen as evil and stuff. So then it's
yeah.
like, well, snake's horrible because they're evil. But
No, that's
snake
exactly.
is the symbol for health. It's the symbol for the World Health Organization and for medicine and stuff. It's a
Yeah, I
snake.
mean, yeah, it's using the Greek symbol. Yeah, the snake is used in the Greek symbol. There, you'll see it on the paramedics
Yeah.
jerseys and stuff.
So it's all like, although there's so much kind of negative connotations, there are positive connotations as well out there, but we never
Yeah,
focus on those of that. But actually, we should perhaps see, Snake says being, so we do, and hope everyone watching this does, but, the wider general public, unfortunately, we always focus on negative, and so that's the thing that, we tend to focus on more. So,
yeah,
that's where that then sometimes stems from. And then of course, some people believe that and they pass it down to their children, like, oh no, so the whole, snakes are slimy, and it's all like, well, where did that come from? Kind of
yeah.
thing.
No, exactly. And I mean, you'll sometimes put them in somebody's arm, and the first thing they'll say is, "Oh my god, that's so slimy," and you're like, "This is the driest thing you could hold right now. It's
Yeah,
it's totally
yeah,
dry and it's totally
yeah,
soft." But that's again, it's indoctrinated into their head in that much of a specific way.
that's
It's
it.
hard going. So it is. But I say getting anybody to overcome a fear and develop a love and a passion for something it's a great feeling, and it's what it's all about. Effectively, and that's the reason why I do what I do. I am licensed. Jurassic Ark Encounters is a fully licensed zoological establishment by our authorities over here in Northern Ireland, who are called DAERA, the Department of Agriculture and Environmental Rural Affairs is what it stands for. So they come out and I am inspected on an annual basis with vets and an inspector. Predominantly, it's the welfare of the animals to ensure that they're kept at a very high standard as they are being used in the public. There's a lot of back paperwork that goes on. So every time you'll be used to this in a zoo, as will other zookeepers, but for the private sector, maybe not so much. But anytime that animal eats, it's recorded what it eats when it eats. It's recorded when that animal defecates. It's recorded when that animal sheds. What type of shed that animal's had? Was it a good shed, a bad shed? Was any assistance needed? Uh, bi-weekly temperature and humidity recordings are recorded also. Um, there is records of what animal goes out to what show, on what date, where it's went to, how long it's been there, what the temperatures when it was traveling were, what the temperatures while it was there were. Lots of different things like that. So there's so much paperwork behind, but for me, it's a very good thing because being opened up to scrutiny about how you keep and how animals are subjected and how they're looked after, especially when they're in the public eye, is a good thing for me. And it shows a positive obligation to improving the welfare and keeping their welfare at the utmost and foremost, when using them to the public. So I'm happy with that. Likewise, I'm also insured then to carry out the work that I do as well. Out of the ones in Northern Ireland, I'm the only one here that's licensed to bring out the giant species of reptile. I was the first person to be able to achieve that, and that came down through a lot of hard work, being able to show practically to vets and stuff that I could maintain a degree of control of these animals, and that I could obviously step in and do the necessary if needs be. Health and safety looked at me as well for risk assessments and stuff too, obviously for going out to the public. So it all came together really well. It's all done professionally. It's all done safely, but it's all done for education and the enjoyment and the interaction of these amazing animals, and that's the best thing about it.
And I think I don't think anyone watching would disagree with that. We can just see your passion for it. Just
Thank
your
you.
passion is just leaching out of you, and that's and I think that goes more than half it. If you got the passion for it and you're
Yeah,
passionate about what you're talking about, people will engage and they will kind of then lap up what you're saying,
yeah.
sort of thing.
No, absolutely. That's good. I appreciate that, and thank you for your kind comments. And what I would say to anybody that is watching this now, or then anybody watches this afterwards when it's uploaded, or even any of your colleagues or anybody that comments on your stuff, is in relation to this, was I would say that I always appreciate feedback and any criticism as well. Um, I would also appreciate if people wanted to comment if there's any particular things they would like to see me do, or any topics they would like to see me touch on, or whether they would like to see me do more. This is my first live interview. I've done a fair few other interviews, but they've all been pre-recorded. So you have the honor of having the first live one, and you
That's
also have
good.
the honor. You also have the honor of having the first live one done in an enclosure with live reticulated pythons for nearly an hour and a half. And so far we're all alive and we're all good. And in a wee minute before we finish, I'm going to get one or two of them up here into the view of the camera just to let people see them. Because it's always nice for that rather than just looking at my big sweaty ugly face in this heat.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, if you're able to get one, that would be absolutely fantastic.
So if you give me a few seconds, I'm just going to touch diagonally here again. Again, it's just to control that feeding response. So it is. You'll notice that one of the things that I did while I was here, again, it's always a safety tool, is this is just a lid. That's all it is. It's a lid, the lid of a box. But what that does is that acts as a shield, the barrier. It's not going to hurt the animal. The animal hits off it. It's not going to affect the animal. It's a flat surface, but it gives you that little bit of protection, especially if you are working with big constrictors. That has been sitting horizontally across that pathway the whole time that I've been talking, which means that it gives me that little bit of an extra bit of protection when I'm sitting in here talking to you. That, Pandora, who's down there, who's an amazing snake, but it gives me that little bit of degree of confidence that I have time to react to her coming around and be able to see her, through that barrier, before she gets to me, so she's not sitting on top of me, that sort of way. And I mean, here she's coming now, over to me to have a look. So she is. And all I'm going to do here is I'll start the work and I'll get her over this way so that I can see her. If you just give me 2 wee seconds.
That's okay.
Again, the hook is not used as a pulling tool, but it's only used as, a technique here to get the animal. So all we're doing is we're letting her move herself at the moment. She's moving most of herself for me rather than me actually having to haul and fall at her, which is one of the techniques that I have found that works really well for me. You'll see me walking backwards here. I'm not actually pulling this animal. This animal's moving itself. But by me doing that and by me allowing her to move herself, it means that I'm reducing any hauling and pulling of her. And I've nearly enough got her now to the point where she's near enough going to be fully out. And that's without a struggle. And that's, again, in a well-furnished enclosure. You know what I mean? That's in a well-furnished enclosure. And you can see, relatively easy. No hauling, no pulling, no having to try and fight with the animal, nothing like that. This is an 18.5-foot animal, believe it or not. So it is, and again, it's just about being able to work with them. That technique that I use, I call it, it's almost a bit like a push and pull. What I'm doing there is I'm just basically almost like tickling her.
Yep.
She's moving along herself. And when she's moving, I'm just walking backwards while holding on to her body. So she's actually pulling herself out of a crevice. She doesn't know it, but it works every time. So it does. And I mean, I'll bring her back over here a little bit more. And you can see, this is the animal that during the start of this interview came over and struck the hook because she was thinking, is this food? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, she's absolutely stunning.
You know what I mean? So again, a wonderful, wonderful animal. Stupendous, absolutely amazing. And all we'll do is we'll get her to come out the rest here. And again, as you can see in my hands, all I'm doing is letting her slide herself. So it's very, very simple. It's a very simple aspect to do, and that's that animal pretty much all out of that crevice. You know what I mean? So it's not that hard to do. 9 times out of 10, people wrestle far too much with these animals, and they tire themselves out, and the animal wins every time. But if you be smart about it like that, there's an 18 and a half foot animal that's out.
I think the way you've done that, there's no stress on the animal and no stress on you either and stuff. Whereas, sometimes I see people, like I say, trying to put them, and then you got the snake, the animal hissing, opening its mouth, maybe even potentially striking and stuff.
That's that animal totally up now. That's an 18 and a half foot animal. That's 7.5 stone there. It's up around my shoulders, and that's fully out. From a crevice, she went up the back of a branch there, across the back wall. She's going to win every time. There's no need to fight with her. It's not needed. So it's not. But she's a splendid girl, absolutely splendid. And if I put her up here towards the branches, you should find then she'll start to pick herself up that way. And again, you get a lot of criticism maybe from people who will say, oh, you're working with this animal in its enclosure, it's dangerous. It's as dangerous as you make it.
Yeah.
Effectively. I mean, I'm not really in much danger there at the minute. So I'm not, and nor was I at any point there. The most dangerous time for me was the start of that interview when I was talking. She was coming across the floor. But when you quickly recognize that, it's very easy to deal with. I'll see if I've got a wee minute. If I've got time, I'll probably get soaked during this one, so apologies, but I'll see if I can get Summer out. So Summer would be the second biggest python that I've got. She's about nearly 20 and a half feet long, and she is 13 stone. So she's the heaviest that I have. Daisy's the longest at 21 and a half feet, but Daisy's about a stone and a half less weight than her. So she is, because she's longer and leaner. Summer would be a bit of a bigger frame, so she would. If you give me 2 wee seconds here, I'll see if I can try and grab her. I'll not take Daisy, because Daisy takes Daisy's maybe like a 5-minute job. So, And again, this pond here is sitting heated, quite nicely. The water temperature in here at the minute is probably about 26 degrees. So it is. So it's quite nice. So all I'm doing there again is just breaking the feeding response. I'm just getting Pandora to move a bit more out of my road here and make it easier for me. And then again, the hook, it's not used for actually any pulling. It's just used for manipulation here. That's all. It's a great tool. It'd be used a lot better than what most people use it. So again, with Summer here, we're just letting her starting to try and move herself. She is a big, heavy girl. So she is, and all we're doing is letting her try and find a way that she wants to go. Once she wants to start going that way, it's easy for me. So it is at that point, because all I'm doing at that point is walking backwards, and she's effectively doing like a push-pulley system, as you can see there now. There, she's pulling herself. You know what I mean? So it's a very easy system to use. And again, there's quite a difference obviously in size with this girl.
Yeah, she is another stunner.
Yeah, but again, tremendous, amazing animal. As long as she's worked with right, she's happy enough. She's not going to do any harm. Let's see if I can get a bit more of her out here. So the joys of big snakes is there's always a lot of them.
Yeah.
Again, that's her pulling the majority of herself out there. And again, that's nearly all of her out, believe it or not. There's a bit more still in there, but we get there.
Yeah, everyone is saying that. Well, they're saying both of them are absolutely stunning and gorgeous.
So that's her all out there. In a matter of a couple of minutes. She's an absolute splendid girl, amazing. Say hello to everybody. So she is, but hopefully that lets people see. I mean, you see people online. Sorry, I sound a bit out of breath because they are heavy. There's no two ways about it. So they are, but you see people online going on about how it takes them, so long to get the animal out of the enclosure, and they're fighting with the animal, and doesn't. I mean, this enclosure is probably very well furnished, for a python enclosure. So it is, especially with the size of these animals. It's probably very well furnished. But, I can still, as you can see, get them out there in a very short space of time, relatively easy. Would you not agree?
No, that's it. Yeah, easy and calmly as well. Again, do see a lot of videos from some of the large sort of reptile channels, especially in the States, where they got they're obese retics and these tiny kind of drawers and stuff, and they put them out and they're just striking all the time and stuff, and they're sort of sensationalizing it all quite a bit and stuff. And I'd much rather see, someone be nice and calm and actually get a snake out in.
I can trust that. I can let her right around my face. I can let her right around my face and all there too. She's not going to do me any harm. I'm well used to her. And she's not. If you notice, she's only over one shoulder of mine. She's not actually around my neck. So it means then that if she wants to go around, we just let her move around that way. And then that's her free of my neck again. So she's not actually going to be able to constrict around me or anything out there. So again, it's about keeping safe, keeping sensible, that sort of narrative all the time. I'll put her up there and see if we can get her to climb. So maybe just head straight back down to our pond again. They do love the ponds. And again, I think that's one part of retic keeping that people probably, don't actually provide enough of is actually water area. You can see like there's a lot of her.
Yeah.
So it is, but as I say, hopefully it's been interesting enough for you, and your followers. And I mean, the beauty of this is done live, so I mean, there's no tricks, there's no gimmicks here. I'm standing in this shed on my own. My nearest help is down in the house there. So it is now. I do obviously have my mobile phone on me, but working safely, working practically, and most of all, reading your animals, understanding your animals, or any animal for that matter. Body language is body language. Something that takes time maybe to obviously get to that point. But as you can see, there's two animals there that have been moved very easily, very quickly in under 15 minutes.
Well under. We're only, say 10 minutes.
Yeah.
But I was like, maybe 2 minutes each just to get them out, sort of thing. Yeah. That's no time at all, really.
Yeah. So it's handy that way.
So it's been absolutely fantastic. I think everyone was on a lot of comments from people saying that they've really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.
Ian's probably a meeting around him 3 times. Still couldn't touch the head or tail.
Yeah, and you know what?
But he's now puffed out now, but it's sort of like moving big snakes.
And look at that. Beautiful sweat. But then
the heat and the humidity.
I've turned the heater off there. But there's been no heater going this whole time, and in that whole time that we've been talking, we only dropped 1 degrees. We're sitting there at 31.5 degrees, and it was 32.5 when we started. So even without a heater, the sheds do what they're designed to, what they're built for with the insulation. I've only lost 1 degree of heat. Now, granted, it is summer, but you know what I mean. It's not it's for me. That's good.
That's it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much again for having me. It's been a real privilege.
Thanks for agreeing to come on.
It's been lovely to do it live, actually, as well. It's been a nice change. Again, this is the first for me that I've been able to do it actually up in an animal enclosure to actually show some of what I do that people actually don't get the chance to see. Again, which is actually nice. And I say, for anybody that is watching or leaving comments, I would like you to give me a wee follow on any of my social media platforms. I'd also like you to obviously drop any comments in this video as well, or any of the social media stuff in regards to what you would like to see or any particular content or any topics. I take great delight in doing some videos for people and answering some questions too. But thank you very much. You've been a legend, and thank you very much for giving me the privilege of coming on your show.
No, again, thank you. I've just put your links back in the chat for anyone who perhaps hasn't gone over. Do go over and give them a check out and stuff. There's you will see some really amazing looking animals on there. Stuff. And MSPG's Beetle. Tonight's show is just purely about Dougie and Jurassic Ark and his his reptile. So no beetles tonight, unfortunately, but I'll have more beetle content coming out at some point because I do have
Well,
a nice
there
lot
is
of
some
beetles.
little beetles. There is some little beetles and spiders in this enclosure naturally from the vents. So they're here in presence. So they are, I can assure you. But no, thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you, and yeah, thanks to everyone who's been watching, especially from the start and stuff. Yeah, again, thanks for coming on, Dougie. My next video will be out on Wednesday, which is kind of vloggy sort of style, different styles what I normally do. Of the day out that me, Steve W Exotics, Jeremy's Wild World, and Transfer Rookie Matt all went on to go to the shops near Transfer Rookie of the Buck Hut and the Reptile Hut. So there's some nice, and there's some other things there. Not the actual videos on those two shops will come out a bit later, so they'll have full tours. But this one is just going to be kind of a bit of what we got up to a little bit and around that area. So, but yeah, thanks for coming on, and thank you everyone, and we'll see you all again very soon, right?